Hey everybody, welcome to Flannel Jammies Farm. My name is Donna Ray and this is FlossTube number 18. It's Friday, January 25th. I have not been in this space in a month. The last time we were here together it was Christmas Eve, and so we've gone through Christmas and New Year and I'm finally back to visit with you. If it's your first time, welcome. I'm so glad you're here. If you've come back to join me again, welcome again. I'm delighted that you've taken the time to come back and visit with me. I wanted to introduce you to a new friend. Her name is Floozy. Floozy is this beautiful sweater that I'm wearing. I watch a few knitting podcasters. I watch Shauna at Adelaide Cottage and Lindsay at A Wooden Nest. And I especially love to visit with Jules at So Sweet Violet. During the Christmas season, a lot of the FlossTubers did Flossmas, kind of daily or almost daily videos through the Christmas season, through the holiday season. Knitters did Vlogmas, and so I absolutely love Jules' videos during Vlogmas. They're just so precious. She's in the UK. She knits beautifully, and she takes you along on walks with her dog through the snow. She takes you through her kitchen as she's cooking, and she's the most darling spirit, and I just love visiting with her. During one of her Vlogmas episodes, she talked about Floozy, this sweater, and how she'd knit it, and she was very cross with herself because she'd knit it the wrong size, that it was quite large and much larger than even she would wear. And she just didn't know what to do with it. Should she just chuck it? Should she try to fix it? Should she sell it? And she had no idea what to do. Well, as I was watching her go through this process and kind of talking it out with us through YouTube, my husband was in the room. And he said, "Oh, she shouldn't be cross with herself." And he promptly, knowing that I love very generously sized clothing, he promptly wrote an email to Jules. He explained to Jules that he would love to give Floozy a loving home with a wife who would just adore her. Well, don't you know, Jules in her kindness took him up on his offer, and he was able to pay her for Floozy, and Floozy took a long trip up across the pond and came to live with us over Christmas. I love this sweater. It's warm, it's beautiful, it's pink. I love it. It's got just enough gray in it. It's perfect. The thing I love most is that it was knit by Jules. And I feel as if I've made just a lovely lifelong friend. Jules, thank you for sending Floozy our way, and she is cherished here in Virginia Beach. So, now we can move on. How was your holiday season? How did everybody do? It was very sweet here. It was very quiet. Our daughter lives in Singapore now, she and her husband, and so our son came to visit, and it was just a sweet, sweet holiday. A lovely New Year's Day. I visited with my Aunt Artie in Williamsburg and my cousin Rosemarie. Aunt Artie is a beautiful and spry 85-year-old. She rakes leaves every day at my cousin's house. And she's got a wicked sense of humor and just so sweet. I love her. I want to share with you some charming mentions, some new FlossTubers that I've been watching. First, Liz Cullen, A Stitchy Bug. Oh, she now has 2 videos out. Liz is darling. She's in the UK, and I just loved visiting with her. She was in this like conservatory, all glass, and you could see the outside beyond the windows, and behind her was this lovely hutch with teapots and teacups. And I wanted to sit down and have tea with her and stitch. She's a sweet, sweet lady, and her second video is a whip parade. You are going to love it. So check her out, Liz Cullen, A Stitchy Bug. Next, I visited with Olivia at Pumpkin Hollow Quilts. Oh my goodness. Beautiful, beautiful finishes, beautiful quilts, just a sweet lady, so much fun to visit with. You've got to check her out. Again, it's Olivia at Pumpkin Hollow Quilts, and I think she's Pumpkin Hollow Quilts everywhere, like Instagram, everywhere. Next, I visited with Lissa at Alpha's Stitchery. She's an accountant and she lives in Pittsburgh, and she has a plan for world domination. She wants to win the House Cup for Slytherin in the Facebook group Harry Potter's Magical House of Stitching and Literature. So she's really working hard to get her house to win the House Cup in that Facebook group. If you haven't checked it out and you're a big Harry Potter fan, get on over to Facebook and check out Harry Potter Magical House of Stitching and Literature, I think. I wanted to share with you some FFOs, some fully finished objects. I had sent a couple of finishes to our framers, Terry and Sherry. Hi, Terry and Sherry. They're at Total Framing in Northern Virginia, and these ladies do the very best work I've ever seen. They do framing work for the museums up there. They've framed a full-on ballerina's tutu. I mean, these ladies do some great framing. But I got a couple of pieces back from them, and I wanted to share them with you. The first was Friends of the Heart. And of course, this is a Plum Street Samplers. This one I stitched on, I have it written on the back, so I'm going to try to see it. I stitched it on 32 count creme brulee from R&R Reproductions. I finished it on the first day of autumn in 2018. And this was a stitch along, remember, with Ann Robbins, Pat Ryan, and Donna Wynn. And so let me show it to you. And so here it is. What do you think? I think it's just gorgeous. I think it turned out beautifully. The frame was chosen actually by my husband. I was going back and forth in texting with Terry about different frame choices, and my husband brought a piece that they had done for us previously, and he said, I've always loved this frame. So I asked Terry if she could try a piece of the molding with my stitching, and that was it. It was perfect, right? So the Hubs gets all the credit for the frame choice, and Terry and Sherry get all the credit for the beautiful framing job. I think it turned out beautifully, and I just love it. I have it hanging in the living room when it's not here in my hands, and I just love it. Friends of the Heart. So the next one was Brenda Gervais' Quaker Handwork, and I would show you the chart or the cover of the chart, but I sent that along to Jan Hicks, and she is now going to stitch that piece, but I can show you it framed. So here we go. This is Quaker Handwork. And again, I just love the frame. It's got kind of a mustardy undertone, which goes beautifully with these colors of the letters. I love this. This one's currently in my dining room until I find out where exactly it wants to live. It will tell me, and I will place it there in its place of honor. Quaker Handwork, Brenda Gervais. All right. Next, I have one that I finished just in time for the holidays. And that one is God Rest Ye Merry Gentlemen. This is Pineberry Lane I love Wendy's designs so much. They're just primitive and fun. Love them. This one was done on 40 count vintage beeswax from R&R Reproductions. And I did some changing with the colors. And I grabbed a frame that was in my stash and just put it in it, and it fit like a glove. So here it is. God rest ye merry gentlemen. It's one of my favorite Christmas carols too. Aren't they just adorable with their little steaming cups of who knows what? I love this one. It's really sweet. All right, so those are my FFOs. I also have an FO, my first one of 2019. I'll tell you in just a little bit about what I've discovered about myself and what my plan will be for 2019. But the first one I finished was an old whip, and it's from the Scarlett House. It's Blackbird. And this was a piece that we got at a Dying to Stitch retreat last year. And cute as a button. And here it is. Blackbird. Isn't it precious? I think it's just adorable. I do have a candlestick that I think it might fit on for the finish that is shown on the back here. I don't know if you can see that. They've got it just on the top of a candlestick. So I have one that I think it will fit on. We'll see. If not, I'll figure out some way to finish it. But I think it's cute. First finish of 2019. Yes. Oh my goodness. I have one whip that I'm currently working on, and it's an oldie. You know, this was a stitch along from last year, Sally Spencer sampler. This is Birds of a Feather. I'm doing it on a 36 count Sea Fog, which is kind of a green. And I had started it with everybody else and got really excited and put it down. So I've picked it back up and I'm working on it. And it's my current whip that I am working on. And here it is. Sally Spencer. And I'm doing it all in Gloriana silk. There's one Belle Soie in there, but it's all silk. I've changed some colors. This W in particular, this was charted to be this cream color, and the letter just was not showing up on the Sea Fog at all. So I subbed in this brighter color, and I put my name instead of Sally Spencer. And it does say 2018. What to do? I may leave it because that's when we started it. So I may leave it. Who knows? That's my whip. Here are some things that I learned about myself in 2018. Stitch Mania. Not for me. Most stitch-alongs. Not for me. And having all of these whips, all of these works in progress hanging around, not for me. I started out my stitching life as a monogamous stitcher. I stitched one until it was completely done. And then I learned that I could have a few whips going, and then I went kind of crazy, right? I started Stitch Mania, I did sales with everybody. Let's face it, I suffered from a little FOMO, right? I didn't want to miss out. I wanted to stitch all the things. Here's what I've learned. All of those starts and all of those whips hanging around gives me some anxiety. I don't want my stitching to be about anxiety. I want my stitching to be peaceful. I want my stitching to be calming. It's really great therapy, and I want it to be that for me. I love the process of doing it. I don't want to be thinking about all these things that I have to finish. I'm not a very quick stitcher, I didn't think. So I took a little very unscientific poll on Instagram. I asked 3 questions. The first question was, do you stitch every day? 59% of the people who answered said yes, they stitch every day. 41% said no, they don't. I don't. I often don't have time. Many times I'm not feeling up to it. Yeah, I don't stitch every day. So it was encouraging to me to hear that I wasn't the only one that didn't stitch every day. The second question was, of those of you who do not stitch every day, what best describes you? 46% said stitching 1 to 3 times a week described their habit. 54% said that they stitched 4 to 6 times a week. So I'm kind of right on that 3-4 times a week cusp, I guess. I stitch when I have time. I stitch when I'm feeling well, and sometimes it doesn't happen, and it's kind of sad. And it makes me feel like I'm a very slow stitcher, when in fact, it's probably just that I'm not stitching as often as some of my friends. So that was very encouraging to me. Then I was noticing that lots of people on social media had stitching rotations. Lots of people on FlossTube have stitching rotations where they stitch, a certain thing, Santa Sundays or Stars and Stripes Saturdays or Witchy Wednesdays, or they'll stitch a certain thing for 3 days and then they'll use the Tiny Decisions app and they'll switch it up and stitch something else. So I asked the question, do you have a stitching rotation, or do you stitch what you want? And 5% said, yes, I have a stitching rotation. 95% said, I stitch what I want. So I'm in that 95%, and I stitch what I want. I don't have a rotation. So that was encouraging too. Let's talk about Blackbird designs. Yep, Barb and Alma are coming to Virginia Beach. Last weekend in April, there's a retreat at Dying to Stitch featuring Blackbird designs and a lunch and learn session with Linda Stoltz of Erica Michaels Designs. So this is going to be a great time. Information went out recently on the Dying to Stitch Facebook page and on their website, and all the information is out there about when you can register. The registration form is on the website, all the information about the retreat. It's going to be a great time. I highly encourage you, if you're thinking about coming to the Springtime with Blackbird Designs at Dying to Stitch, download the information now from the website and get your registration form ready, because I think there's going to be a wait list. Wanted to let you know about that. I'm hoping to get in and hoping to be there to greet any of you that come. It's going to be a great weekend. I can't wait to see Barb and Alma again. Finally, at the beginning of the month, dear friend at church invited the families of our church to visit his garage. Now, that sounds kind of gross, right? Why do we want to go to a garage? That's kind of probably dirty and full of tools and maybe oil and who knows what. Kevin has transformed his garage into a model train wonderland. He has different levels of trains. He has a whole section of Lego trains. Well, Scarlett, I'm sorry. Scarlett's distressed because we didn't take her to see the trains. Sorry. Anyway, he's got all these trains and they're amazing. And he invited the families of our church to come in and take a peek at his trains, which we did. And I'm going to show you a little bit here. Wasn't that fun? It's so fun to see the trains. One of the things that I did after that is I went and got Little House Needleworks. This is the Main Street station. And I had seen several people stitch this up and always loved it. And after we went and saw the model trains at Kevin's house, I just thought this would be a sweet little memento to stitch up to remember that fun time at his house. So this was one thing that I bought just after the first of the year to remember that special time. Friends, what a delight to visit with you today. I'm so glad to be back after such a long time away. It's always good to visit with you. We have such a great time when Stitchers get together, right? Right. As always, I invite you to be the grace and the kindness that you want to see in our world. Bye-bye, my friends.
If I just say the words, is that enough to make them true? If I just say the words, well, you know that I love you. I try to open up my heart so that you can see the truth. If I just say the words,